A few days ago, I saw someone ask a question to Grok. If you had to pick one type of existing money that would best serve humanity for the next 1,000 years, what would it be and why? It wasn't the answer that made me pause. It was whether the reasoning behind the answer was already leaning in a particular direction. So I decided to check. Let's walk through what I did and what I found. All right, let me reset this for a second. This is not a video about Grok versus ChatGPT, and it's not a video about artificial intelligence choosing Bitcoin. This is a video about process. Specifically, what happens when you take a big question about money, ask it without steering the answer, and then test whether the reasoning holds up across different systems. After seeing Grok's response, I didn't argue with it. In fact, I didn't want to. But I didn't endorse it either. I took the exact same question, word for word, and asked it to ChatGPT. No qualifiers, no disclaimers, no don't sugarcoat it, just the question. What came back didn't start with Bitcoin. It didn't start with technology or price or adoption. The question itself forced a different kind of answer. By asking about a 1,000-year time frame, it intentionally avoided the shallow question of what money works best right now. Because over that kind of horizon, convenience doesn't matter. Popularity doesn't matter. Even today's institutions don't matter. What matters is what survives human nature. And that's where the framework emerged. Across history, every form of money that has failed for essentially the same reason. In every case, once humans gain discretionary control over the rules, once they can create more, change the terms, and move the goalposts, well, eventually they do. So the criteria became very clear. A form of money that lasts 1,000 years has to have a supply that can't be altered by politics, enforce its rules without trusted intermediaries, survive the rise and fall of institutions, be neutral and permissionless, and assume that humans, given the opportunity, will abuse power. And only after laying out those conditions did the answers circle back to Bitcoin. And not because it's digital, not because it's new, not because it's popular, but because it removes the very levers that humans have always used to break money. And if this way of thinking about money is helpful for you, if you appreciate slowing down and actually walking through the reasoning instead of chasing headlines, then I hope you'll consider subscribing to the channel, because that's what this is about. Not price predictions, not hype, just trying to understand Bitcoin clearly, especially in moments when things feel noisy or uncertain. Now, we were talking about the conclusion that Bitcoin is the most survivable form of money, not because it promises better behavior, but because it removes the very levers that humans have always used to break money. And that framing mattered more to me than I expected. Because once I was confident the answer wasn't being sugarcoated because of my history, once I was satisfied that the reasoning stood on its own, I didn't feel hyped. I felt calmer. Because, let's be honest, there's been a lot of noise lately. Price action that feels chaotic, endless headlines, and no shortage of theories about how they are trying to slow Bitcoin down, regulate it away, or treat it like an enemy of the existing system. What this exercise gave me wasn't certainty about price or timelines or outcomes. It gave me clarity. It reminded me that my confidence in Bitcoin isn't rooted in prediction, it's rooted in structure, in the fundamentals of the protocol itself, and just as importantly, in what that protocol intentionally takes away from us as imperfect humans. It doesn't ask us to be disciplined. It doesn't ask us to be virtuous. It doesn't assume we'll behave well if given enough power. It assumes the opposite. And it's designed around that reality. So whether the noise gets louder or quieter, whether the price moves up or down, the core conviction hasn't changed. Not because an AI said the right thing, but because the reasoning still holds even when it isn't tailored to me. And sometimes we just need to be reminded of why we took hold of an idea in the first place, why we invested our time, our effort, and our resources into it as passionately as we have. And for me, this process brought me back to that confidence, not in the chaos surrounding it, but in what endures beneath it. Leave me your thoughts in the comments. Let me know what first drew you to Bitcoin, because I'm genuinely interested to see what you have to say. I'll see you in a bit.